Hello everyone, and today I am going to show you how you can create a particle system like this with particles inside a particles and using particle instance. So yeah, if you are new to the particle system in Blender, so you're gonna get a really good help in this tutorial. So follow along and let's get started. So first we need to do is clear all the step here. So press A and X to delete everything. Now you need to create something to be the emitter of the mesh. So I'm just bringing a normal plane here. Now scale it and press 2 to just scale down, scale it like twice because it's need a bit larger space than needed. Now you can go directly here in the particles tab and you can just add a new particle here. And as you add the new particle, you can already see we are having particles falling from the plane. That's quite nice, but the main thing here is we just need all the particles to come at once. The particles are starting from frame 1 and they are ending at frame 200. So that means all the particles just releasing it just stop after 200 frames. Let's see. So after we go 200 and you can see no particles are emitting after the 200 frame. So 200 is the limit of the particle and this is how much particle gonna emit until then. And this is the lifetime, means each particle which is created gonna last for 50 frames, and all the numbers you can see in here is just the frame number here. Okay, now we need our particles really fast, so like 1 frame to 10 frame all the particles gonna release. So as you can see all the particles are releasing and they are just vanishing after 50 frames. So which is released in the 10th frame will gonna disappear in the 50th, not like 50 plus 10, so in 60 frames. You need to do the basic mathematics here, so how much frame longer you need or don't need. So for me, like it's 150 for now, so 150 frame for now. You can increase or decrease this value and the total amount is the plus value of the end frame, but you cannot exceed the minimum frame value in the start frame and back. So make sure to just add the real number because in between number can really mess up your scene a lot. So they are just going down, but we don't need them to just go down when the player starts. So we need them to stuck right here. So for that, just go here and go to the field weights, as you can see, and remove the gravity to 0. So there is no gravity right now, and as you can see they are not going down. But why they are going upwards then? So they are going upwards because if you go to velocity, you can see the normal velocity is 1 meter. That means the normal of this plane is facing upwards and the velocity for this one is 1 meter per second. So they are applying the velocity 1 meter per second from this plane. So just make it 0. So if you make it like 0, they will not go anywhere here. So they just stuck here. No gravity, no upward force, so they just are a bunch of particles right now. So how are we gonna move these things? So you have, if you press Shift A and going in the add, the shortcut is Shift A. So go to the force field and you can see bunch of force field options here. So in here you can use wind or force or turbulence, or there are a lot of things, but the first thing we need is turbulence. So turbulence does actually use a randomized value to the planes, and you can see they are just using the turbulence factor here now. So why it's taking a time delay before it's show the turbulence really happens? That because they are just still. So you need a little bit more force to do it smaller to greater. Than if it start moving, then you need much less force to make it move. So the first initial stage when it's only start moving, it just it take a bit longer to move that with the value it providing. So you can go here and you can see all the values here. You can also use the wind factor, but also those numbers will increase the render time a lot. So you can also use the distance between minimum and maximum distance, and the direction is Z. So it means it also randomize it in the Z positive and the Z negative, or you can also set it in a particular axis if you want. So like only the Z positive, so it will go only up, but for me it's like both sides, and the shape is sphere, but you can use it any of that. So it will provide a much more variable state. Like if you're using a cone, it will start releasing it like a cone, but that does not matter much, so just use the sphere here. And the power is basically like, if you hold here, you can say, so how quickly the fall from distance speed. So if you increase the power, you can see like it's slowly integrating the thing, it's slowly descending. Like if you use much power, that will be take a lot more time. So make it 0 at the first stage. Next thing is the strength of the shape. So you can also change it to plane or something, but the strength is like how much power it gonna use after doing that. So if you increase the strength, it will do the turbulence faster than before, because it have more power to move the particles from its standing point. The default size I use like 3.5 or something, maybe I recall that. So this is like how fast your particles gonna move. But now you can see they are just like moving at random directions and just spreading all the way in the 3D surface. So you need it to gather at the center, but also not like at a singular point. So for that you can use many forces. Like you can use the force field with negative power, so they just drag something in there. You use the drag, or you can use the vortex, which I used basically. So in the vortex, what you do actually, it create a tornado type, like you can see that, right? So it create a tornado type thing, I may say. So something like a tornado, so yeah, you can see it right now. So it don't let the particles to escape that point. And I guess it's pretty good, but also you don't need to make it pretty high. Okay, so also if you just import any of the effector and it does not work, just increase or change the value and make it default again, so it will start working. Your particles are accelerating, and yeah, it's quite going with the pace, but it's ending like in the 160 frame. What our particle system mainly have like 150 plus 10, so 160 frames. We can make it bigger or lesser, but let's say like we need 200 frames. So after then you can just press this button and then play again, so it will reset the cache and then reapply or recalculate the cache here. So as you can see, now we have particles and it will finish at 212 or 11, something like that. So in 210 frames, but our cache calculated till 212 frames. So yeah, that's all for this simulation thing you need. Also, if you have a lower end PC, you can just reduce the particle number right now and increase it later, because yeah, that will increase the performance of what we are going to do right now. So you can increase it later when we're going to render, but right now you can just leave it like that. Now let's bring another object, which is a cube. We are going to use this one as a particle of this one. So make it default size, don't scale it down right now. Go to the first frame and go to modifier tab, then add modifier, go to physics tab and add a particle instance node. So when you add a particle instance node, you can see your particle systems here. So for me it's plain, but if you like use anything like particles 1 or something, so it will show up in your system like the particles 1. So yeah, naming the groups also helps a lot. Let's go to the cube again and use the particle 1. Now you can see our cube actually using that particle system in its shape. But if you scale it down right now, you can see it's nothing happening. They just scaled down significantly. So why this is happening? Because you are using the world axis of the particle system here. So if you go to local axis, as you may see, you can increase or decrease the particle, but it will not affect the particle system on the cube. Okay, so what you need to do, go to edit mode at the cube. You can turn off it from here and scale it down. So let me just turn it on so you can see what's happening. So in edit mode, when you scale that down, you can see now the particles are doing its job. You can reset its scale by pressing Alt R, so it will reset the scale, sorry, Alt S to reset the scale. Now you can see every cube is inside of that ball, like they are just copying the particle system we just created. So just select the cube, and if you move it around also, that's the main part. If you move it around also, it will not change, and everything we do with this particle system will affect this one because it's a instance of that particle system. Now one thing you may notice here, because they are not like having the, like the cubes when you see, they are not really here. That because you use the unborn and death. So unborn is like before emitting the particles, it will show where the particles are gonna be emit, and after it died, it will still show the particles. So if you can see, they all died, but they are still frame. They are like stand in their position where they died. So turn off those so we can get the effect like, yeah, they are just disappeared like that. Also, you can do one thing for the particle system here, that is randomize the lifespan, and you can say it like a percentage. So like 3.337% means 33% from the lifetime of what they have. So you can like minus 33.7% from the life. And yeah, that's the logical explanation I have right now. So for the particles, so they just randomly disappear, not like indexly. So you can see, yeah, much more randomized option here, or much more randomized values. So for now, you can see we have a particle system, but why it gonna help us? So now let's do the thing. If you duplicate this by pressing Alt T, like that is the linked duplicate, and rotate it in Z axis, you can see we have much more particle system with just one particle system. And that's not all. You can also, you can see they are not rotating with the randomized value. So go here in the particle system, and you can use the rotation option here and use it as dynamic. So what it does, it will rotate the cubes dynamically, or the points. As you can see now, it's rotate according to like how they are moving or doing things. I guess like I can delete one right now. We will copy that later in the video. So yeah, they are now doing the thing, the copy thing here. And as our last particle ends at 210 frames, so let's say I'm going to use 210 frames for the whole animation. Yeah, that's a lot, I know, but yeah, it's very least if you using dynamics and particle system for anything. So yeah, that's all we have. Now you can also add a new particle system over this particle system. So how you can add that? Just simply go to the cube and add a new particle system here. Let's make that down to 100 again, so we have a better understanding. But now let's hide this big particle system. Now if you use this, you can see it's not like going something, it's just emitting from this particular particle which just created at the starting of the particle system maybe. Yeah, so why this happening? Because you are not using the modifier stack, which is this one. So for that, it's very easy. Just go to source here and use the modifier system, and now every particle here emitting the particles you do here. So as the same for here, you can see it's end at 200 and lifetime is 50, so 250 frames, but we only have 210 frames. So you can just do simple maths like 210 minus the 50 of the lifespan of that, so you get 160. And yeah, you can use simple mathematics inside the panel here in Blender. That's a pretty effective way. So yeah, they just stop emitting after 160 frames, and that is not we wanted. We wanted to emit at least till 180 frames. So let's make it 180 and make the lifespan 30. You need a lot more particles if you do that, but for me, I guess, yeah, 1000 particles are enough. So they are just emitting, you can see, and they just start and stop emitting at 180 frame, and all the way to 210 frames they are all vanished. Now how are we going to affect this one? The same for this particle system, we just going to the field weight, remove the gravity, go to the physics, no, go to the yeah, velocity, make the normal to 0, also use the rotation for value and also the dynamic option. Now you can see it's doing that. But why it's going that way? That's because we use those two effector, and those two effectors are affecting this particle system. The best fix for this one is simply using a collection. So select those two those two like effectors and press M in your keyboard, and you can use a new collection for that. So let's say we have effector 1 collection. Now remember, if you create a new collection, that must need to also applied in this particle system, because if you create a new effector here, this particle system gonna interact with that effector. So let's see how we can change that. So just go to the field weight and you can see the effector collection here, and just add the effectors you need. So it's not change here much, but it will change in this particular panel. Now create another collection here and name it effector 2. So I'm just making it short names, so you can just remember that, and use that effector 2 here. Now you can see these particles are not affected by those two parameters. Now those ones are just for show, so they don't need to show up in the render view. You can turn off them, but yeah, those things don't need any render settings. So the particle system don't need to show up in the render, because we're just going to render this one. Now for this one, as it's in the middle of that, press Shift S and cursor to selected, so it came here, and we're going to add new effector in this effector 2. So the same for this one also, just or you can just duplicate those two, like Shift T, duplicating those, press M and go to effector 2, and then GY and bring them here. So what it does actually, it now going to affect this particle system here. And yeah, probably not much you may say, but yeah, it's something crazy that you thought. Now one thing, if you want to change the sizes randomly for this particle system, you definitely need this particle system for that. And by how you change the size of that, you also need to enable the size option from this cubic particle system. So just turn on the size and you may see like everything is gone away. So just go to this particle system. The reason behind that is when you go down to the render, the render tab, you can see the scale is like 0.05. We needed 1 because we just scale our particle system the way we need or we want it. So it's 1, but you can now randomize the scale from here. And that's a pretty cool way to just randomize the scale. That's why you can use pretty much any particle system here. Now you probably need to change the seed for this one also, and the strength maybe for both of them, because yeah, those two things can make similar effects if they are gone together. And I guess I'm going to increase the vertex vortex a bit, so it will just trying to rotate that way. Yeah, now what we're going to do is turning off those, also turning off the effectors here. I'm going to create a, go to world cursor here. I am going to create a simple mesh because we are going to get a lot of mesh. So add a cone and reduce the size to 3. So it just give you the lowest possible 3D geometry, which have only 4 sides, 1, 2, 3, and this one is 4. So it only have 4 sides, and it's the lowest possible geometry you can get in 3D. Closed geometry, to be precise. Yeah, so plane is also a geometry, but yeah, this one is a closed geometry. Now size it, like how much bigger or smaller you need this one. Now go to this particle system here, as you may thought, And now going to render, you may see the hollow option, which is doing this round shape. You can use it object or as a path if you select like want to use multiple of those type of things, but yeah, for now I am just using one. And you have the drop down option, or you can search from here. So I just using the drop down and selecting this home. Now for the same here, use the one for the scaling value, and this is like real-time scale. If you scale that down, the particles will also scale down. I'm just scaling down a bit. And also I am going to increase a bit of scale randomization. So yeah, that will probably affect that particle system. Yeah, that will do the thing. Now also you want the rotation and all the things in the dynamic system, but yeah, you can use it global X or normal tangent or normal the orient axis, like how the it gonna be rotate. So if you use the normal tangent, it will rotate along the tangent, and I see it is a bit you know, seeing not profitable, but yeah, it's pretty good for me. But it's disappearing too soon, so we need to change those two values here. Let's say we going to start emitting from 5 frames after like everything is created. After that we going to emit this particle system, and let's say we're going to emit it till 150 frame. And if you do that, you need to increase the lifespan, otherwise it's gonna like vanish middle of the year like that. And after that the boxes will vanish. So I need the boxes will vanish, and this will also vanish including that. So you can do the math also here, or simply just type if you are good in maths. But if you are not, just type 210 and minus the value you put there, and you get the frame of your choice. So now it's gonna stay till the last moment. Now this is where it's getting pretty complicated for few people. So I suggest you, if you don't understand, rewind the video, pause the video, and re-watch that part where you are not getting. So this is everything you need to know about this particle system for now. And yeah, we are pretty much done here. So if you want to do more stuff, like if you want to create more particles in there, you can just go here and use 1000 particles for this one again. But I rendered it with more particles, so just to let you know, like I rendered it with like probably 7000 or 5000 particles like that. But this one is also look good. Now what you need to do here, because you created this particle system and it have its own particle system, you can duplicate that technically. But if you duplicate this thing and rotate that, uh, you know what will happen, it sometimes provide like overlapping particles and things. So yeah, if you want to create like want to show like there are more particles than needed, yeah, you can do this trick. So your computer gonna process 3000 particles. So 1000 from here, 1000 from like both of the cubes, and 1000 from the main particle system we created. So let's rename this like particle or like we need like per particle integer pp integer 2. So we know like which is the integer value, like those two, and they have their own particle system also, like those things. And now is at this point you can just reduce the particle system, because you can see we sharing two copies of that. So you can make it either like 600 or 500. So yeah, that will reduce a lot of computing time in the render, because you totally don't need that much, right? Also you can just rotate it also, so you get crazy stuff like these things. But yeah, for now this is almost everything we need. For the shading, I'm just increasing this and adding a new shader editor in here. For the shading, just go to normal shading mode. But if you are using ev next, it will not work. Okay, so the shading for particle system not work in ev. I don't know why, but yeah, it's not work in ev. So for this tutorial, you need to render it in cycles if you want to get those random values or stuff like that. The first thing we need is the particle info node. So just search for particle info and you get the particle info node. Now you have index, random, age, lifetime, and all the stuff like that, but I'm not going to cover those things because yeah, that's a totally separate topic here. So you can try out like which one is the best, but for me, the location and the velocity will do most of the work for the particle system. Now you make sure you are using it in this particular section where it is actually a mesh, not a particle system. So you can't use the particle system for this mesh. If you're using it for the cubes, let me remember. So if you're using it for the cube, like you can change the color here. So as the same, you need a geometry node and it's going to be random per island. So it depends, like if you want something like this one, or which I used this one, so in every direction you are looking it give you a different color, or you can use the tangent map, which divide your mesh from the between, or from, you can say like from the vertex of where your mesh is, and divide it with 4 colors or 6 colors like that. So you can also use this thing, but you can get black shapes, and let me tell you how you can remove that shape. So simple as that, use a mix color node, and just don't need to be it white, just use the mix factor as a screen. What it does, it use the black portion and only affect to the black portion of that. So you can increase a little bit of that screen and it will do all the particles white. You can see not significantly changing anything, just the color. So you can now put it in the base color and you almost have a pretty good particle system. But for the particles of the triangles, so the triangles won't do the same. So if you go particle info node and want to change the triangles, you can see nothing working in the EV, everything is going black, and that is not actually what we want, right? We don't need everything to be black, so that's why we need to go to cycles, and now you can see some values there, and because it's only works in cycle, so yeah, probably you can use another particle instance node, but that will complicate the things. So we're just using the velocity of that particle. So what it does, it use the velocity and then predict the color of each particle. So if you are going like almost 0, it will just die, and if it's more than 0, then it will continue to grow. So this is for now, and you can use the same technique if you don't want to be vanish out, but I guess this thing is doing enough. Now you can use it to emission also, because we need emission, right? We need emission and make it strength 1, and you can see it's flowing inside of that thing. Also for this particle system, I also want it emit colors or something, so just make it also 1, and you can see we have a pretty bright particle system right now, which is technically pretty good. For the shading, if you go to like material preview, you can see these ones, but not the down parts of that. And if you don't like the way it's gone black totally, yeah, there is pretty simple way. Yeah. Just go here, add the same node, which is mix color, add this node and add this to the color, put it to the screen, and you can increase the color. So yeah, you can see what it does. It really don't changing much color, but just making the darker parts a bit whiter. You can use more white, but it will reduce the strength. So just use the default white button provide you, and then you can just increase the color, and every node now have their individual color. Now for the render settings, if you ask me, just go here, make the world like black totally, or you can strength down to 0. Go to the world settings and you have this thing. If you go add a camera just at the horizon line like this, and you can press this lock key, so you can just like remove or roam around, and that's, I guess, is enough for you. But as you may see, like it's going a bit upwards and downwards, so you need to zoom out a bit from that place. And let me tell you, you need to zoom out a lot, because we are going to use depth of field. So use a 85 or more than that for the particle system, and you can see it's being horizontal, so they are just like up and down more than the sideways. So you can actually flip this version, so 1080 by 1920, and then reflip in the edit if you want. So okay, that's a suggestion for me, because I render it like that way and then flipped that. So this is how you're going to get the particle system. And now for the main render settings, you can render it either in PNG sequence if you have transparent background, but if you're not, so you can also use JPEG sequence if you want. But for beginners, I suggest to directly render in the video format, and use MP4 or QuickTime if you have using like if you using Apple, use QuickTime, or not, then use the MP4 format. And the in quality is principally lossless, so you get a RGB in output of your file, and here you can select where you need to save your file. So just go there, save your file, that's all, and starting frame, ending frame, all the stuff like that. So sometimes I prefer it to like 30 or 25 fps, because it give you few more frames in per second, so yeah, if you have a good PC, do that, otherwise 24 is enough. Now going to cycles, going to GPU, if you have a good GPU, so use the GPU compute. Also for denoiser, use OpticX, and the samples just like 200 or 240, something like that. You also don't need that much noise threshold, because we are not doing very low light, something like that, so you can just use 0.03 or 0.04 here. Also in the light path section, you can just like reduce the total bounce rate, because we don't need that much bounce. Also the transparent, because we are not using any transparent here or any transmission here, you can just see the result yourself. There is nothing doing that thing. Now there is a cool way, if some of your places are too dark, you can simply add a new sunlight to your scene. Just up it down and rotate it in x-axis, like it's going in sideways like that. And that's all you need to increase your scene. Just make the sunlight a bit more flashy and turn off cast shadows and multiple importance, and you will get this much. So you probably need to turn down a little bit of the emission value, because it's sometimes here. Now you have all the settings, all the colors and things you need. Also you can just like simply go to the compositor tab and use the what do you say, like camera composition. Also use the render region, so it will render more faster. Now in compositing tab, use nodes, and you get those two nodes. To make it look better, you can use the glare node, so search for the glare node and use it like stars, beams, or other effects you may see. So use those, but for me, I guess bloom is the best option for you people. So yeah, if you want to see like which parts are blooming, so just add the mix value to high, and then you can see which part you need to bloom. And just like using the threshold value, you can limit the range of your bloom, then make it 0 again, will like apply on those effects. So yeah, that's a cool trick if you're using bloom often. And now all that remains is just go render and then render animation and wait till the render complete. And for me, like I use more particles, so in total it took me like 4 hours to render with all the things. But for you, I guess it will be a lot less than that. Okay, one more thing that we missed probably, that is if you go to render now in any frame, you can see they are just like static few things floating in the sky, something like that. But you need to look better in your render settings. then you need to change few settings also. Firstly, in camera settings, go to camera settings, just go to camera settings, yeah, and use the depth of field option. And now you can see everything is blurred out, and you can just make it more blurred by reducing the f-stop number to a huge point. Now you can just focus on where you need to focus. Like, there are particles everywhere, so in any point you're gonna focus something, so just focus where you need, and then I guess play it, and you get a pretty good focusing point, which is there. You have some particles coming forward, coming backward, and that will create a more huge effect. Now also the main option here, if you use motion blur with this effect, so simply if you go to motion blur and then render any of the frame, you can see those like light cutting or something like particles, though look like radioactive elements. Anyway, so those things, you can see those things here, and as you can see, like, it increased my render time hugely, right? So remember that if you're using depth of field and motion blur, your PC need to be in a really good state, and it took me like 25 seconds to render this single frame. You may guess that how much longer it can take. So anyways, if you're rendering in motion blur, if you don't need these trails, you can just simply go to start of the frame, and the trail is gonna be vanished, like there is no trail for like emitting particles or something, but you get a decent motion blur by that. But if you want the trail a lot of amount, like which I used in my render, go to end of the frame, and that will maximize the, like, every particle, like where it's going, it just create a light trail, like something, that thing. And yeah, it like look like a little bit better to me, but yeah, depending on your situation, you can try out different things. It's up to you what you're gonna try, but that's all you need to know about the particle system. And after a few times, we are done with it, and that's all for today. So guys, if you want to know more about particle system or need videos like that, just let me know in the comment section, and I will create something like that. Also, check out my other videos, so you get a lot of value from the videos. I created the channel for beginners only, so I hope it's helpful. See you in the next video.